For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Elle. How's it going today, Jay?
Doing great. Thank you for having me, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Absolutely. I'm excited to sit down and chat with you a little bit, get to know more about you, your music. You know, I know you just released a new single 2-3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, just about. That's correct. You know, we are now promoting Tequila Kiss, and it's from the album Ride the Wave that was released last September.
Awesome.
And it's doing great. You know, we're getting some great reviews and been getting the airplay. It's quite amazing, actually. The last report I got last Saturday, there were 79 stations, non-commercial stations, playing the song and other songs from the album. So we're happy.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. When you've got so much support on as far as radio play goes, you can't really ask for much more.
That's correct. Yes.
So before we jump into Tequila Kiss and, you know, talking about Ride the Wave and all that stuff, for the people that are just getting to meet you for the first time, what's kind of your backstory? What got you into music?
Oh, thanks for asking. And I started playing guitar when I was a teenager, around 15. And that led me to learn how to sing eventually, because I was quite fascinated by actually the songs. That's really what I thought was really the most interesting part of the music that I gravitated to, was these great songs that give you energy and a lift and boost when you listen to them, right? Mm-hmm. And eventually I figured, you know, let me try to learn more about the writing and see if I can come up with some good songs and perhaps, you know, pass that on to people just the way I, you know, enjoyed it, coming from these great writers over the decades of music out there, and going even farther than that, back to classical music and classical pieces that really moved me. So I got into the writing later, you know, in my early 20s, when I started really, you know, go for that. And I've been working on that since, and trying to come up with the best possible music I can come up with, and hopefully pass on that great energy and a great vibe that you get from a song that moves you, you know.
For sure. So when you started the exploration of writing music and started really exploring that avenue of creativity, who were some of the musical influences you were listening to?
Oh, because I started with guitar, it was a broad range of folks, you know, Eric Clapton, of course, Hendrix, and you know, more, you know, contemporary guys at the time, of course, these great heavy metal, you know, guys who, there's a list of them, right? Van Halen, of course. And that was fun guitar, right? That was like flashy stuff and loud, super loud. But I also studied a little bit of classical guitar and really got into the pieces that Bach wrote and tried to do, you know, a little bit of finger picking, because it opened up some avenues in terms of arranging the song too. So lots and lots of guitar players, a little bit of jazz, though, you know, definitely it's not, you know, my you know, world, but just curious, really curious about these great guitar players, and especially those who had a way to bring that together with great songs. You know, I mean, you can look at what Eric Clapton did over the years. Certainly great guitar playing when he was doing the more bluesy pieces, but then also had some great songs that carried through over the years that it's been out there doing that. And then that led me to look into other writers and looking into the, of course, Sting and others, and see how things developed from there. But I'm always looking for both, combining what I think is fun guitar or interesting guitar playing, and also great songs.
Yeah, for sure. So when you were started learning how to play guitar, was the original idea just you just playing guitar, or did you have aspirations of being in a band? What was kind of?
Oh yeah, it was both. A little bit of the solo parts, because some of these great pieces, you can definitely listen to that and enjoy playing acoustic guitars, whether it's classical pieces or finger picking country music, and those are really fun to play and difficult to play. But then, the most fun part was, of course, playing with bands, right? We have a cool rock band, at least in my preferences, was more towards rock, and that's a lot of fun. Guitar can be a lot of fun. There's so many great sounds that you can get out of a guitar, and it's really what I gravitate to, and that's always been sort of the focus, and try to come up with great melodies to go with that, and mix that together in a way that's fun, both interesting from a guitar standpoint and also from a musical melody standpoint and lyrics.
For sure. Has there, at any point, did you decide to pick up any other instruments? Has it just been straight guitar the entire time?
I found this violin once in the store. It was extremely affordable, but that didn't go anywhere. I couldn't get a sound out of that, and then piano a little bit. Yeah, I can certainly play chords on the piano, but I never explored that much further. So it's really a guitar, and that's been plenty, and it's it's perishable skill. So in my case, anyway, if I don't practice, enough, it goes away pretty quickly. So I figured it's best to stick with one instrument, really, in my case. But some folks can really, do everything and do it well. But no, I'm stuck with guitar, and that's fine. That's plenty right there.
Yeah, for sure. So you're based out of New York now. Are you born, raised New York, or where are you from originally?
No. I was born actually in the Alps, the border between France and Switzerland. And I studied there in Geneva at the Conservatory of Music, and came to New York because I actually got a job from a band here that hired me, and I stayed in New York. Fell in love with New York. It's an amazing place, and it's an amazing place when it comes to music. That is the music I like, and great musicians that you can learn from, and clubs. Obviously nowadays things are a little difficult for live in clubs, but certainly over the years I've been here, it's just been a fantastic experience and great learning experience. So many talented people. That's been great.
Yeah, I've often given New York a lot of thought, but just the thought of living in a big city like that, because I grew up in the South Side of Chicago, and just living there gave me anxiety. I can only imagine what New York would do.
Oh, it's tough. It's tough. It's not like, hey, come on in and they roll the red carpet or anything.
Yeah.
No, I totally relate. The anxiety level is high. No doubt. It's certainly my experience. So I totally understand your experience as well. So you do what you love, right? If you can, to the extent that you can, and you live with it and put up with it. But it's not like it's an easy, super, relaxed ride by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, for sure. It's I know exactly where you're coming from. That's just kind of why New York, I'll come and visit, but that's about it. I can handle New York for maybe a week before.
Well, good. That's not bad at all. Some people don't last, a day or two.
Yeah.
So it has its challenges and great energy that it's for each of us to decide, right, how much we can put up with and live with in that respect. But I do find the retreat of a quiet, peaceful, studio apartment in my case, welcome, because, the moment you get out, I mean, and especially if you're visiting, you're going to be hit by nonstop noise, people, level of activity, traffic, you name it. So your senses get like a rush.
Yeah.
And you go to clubs and it's loud music and it's, lights and sounds. So you need to find a way to relax. You need to find a way to retreat, otherwise after a while it's overwhelming for sure.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of musicians that are based out of New York in various different boroughs. And every time I talk to them, the conversation comes up about when I'm coming out to New York, how I'll never be able to sit still, like 24 hours in a day isn't going to be enough because they're going to be moving me around and what have you.
Yes.
It's just like, oh, we'll take you over to Coney Island. We'll take you down. And they're like telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, let's, yeah. So,
well, they call it the city that never sleeps for good reason. I mean, you can be in a cab on 2nd Avenue, going down to 8th Street, and it's 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and it's just as much traffic that there is like at 4 p.m. or 10 a.m. It's nonstop. So hey, it's what it is, right?
I dig it. Like that, the idea behind that just seems like if I want to get something done and it's late at night, because I do have those moments, and where I'm at here in Central Texas, if I wake up at 4 a.m. and it's like, wait a minute, I need to get this done, I have to wait until the morning because there's nothing open or what, like if I need to go run to the store or whatever to go buy something.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
that's the counter of it. And it's, it's really interesting in that respect because you get used to it, right? Sometimes I'm able to obviously travel and not be in New York all the time. And you get used to it, so you're right. What you described, it's like, well, I can't do that now. I'm going to have to wait. But that's part of the overall experience.
Yeah. So obviously prior to the pandemic or during the pandemic, you haven't been able to do this that much, but how often do you get to go back home to?
I don't go that often,
okay.
But occasionally if I can certainly travel. Yes, you're right. I mean, the pandemic just created this brand new world of non-traveling, certainly for me. But it's technology as we are experiencing it right now enables you to stay in touch really easily nowadays. So that's what you do. You wait, patiently and get on Zoom or whatever, Skype and you can communicate with folks and stay in touch. So at least we have that for now.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, thanks to Zoom's made everything a little bit more easier, especially during the pandemic. I wouldn't have been able to do my podcasts, and now we do it over Zoom.
Yeah, it's quite it's quite amazing how things have developed and expanded really.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, kind of shifting gears over to your music and whatnot. You released an album in 2021, "Ride the Wave," and then you also released a single earlier this year. Is that a standalone single?
No, that's part of the album. So we started with the first single was "Miss Mess," also.
Okay.
And then the second one was "Tequila Kiss," and it takes a while because it's obviously more independent than not. And, by the time you reach out to everybody and that you can possibly reach out to and go to the stations and the press. So it's a labor of love that usually, you can spend a year, 18 months, promoting an album. That's the nature of the beast. It's, we're not in a situation where we can blast out a new release to everybody in the world. But, that's more the world of major labels and that kind of, financial support. So it's more, hey, a little bit every day, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is, and it's quite good. I mean, it's been a fantastic experience because the response has been positive, super positive.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy with it, and I love to listen to the records. I mean, it's mine, of course. What am I going to do? But it's not so much that. It's, the producer, Caleb KBC Sherman, did a magnificent job. And I'm really having a great time, and I'm really happy with it. So it's an easy, work to let people know it exists and that they should give it a listen, and hopefully they'll enjoy it. But it's definitely every day, nonstop, and it's going to be like this for quite a few more months, and that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So for "Tequila Kiss," since that's specifically the song that you've brought up, what's the story behind that song?
Yeah, so like many of the people I know during the pandemic, either glued to the social networks or glued to my TV set. So I was binging on this show, The Vampire Diaries, right?
Okay.
And I thought the lead actress, Nina Dobrev, was really excellent and fun. And she was playing like two characters. And the show is, to me, a lot of fun, right? I mean, between the vampires and certainly Damon, who's got this crazy attitude and fun character. And it's super fiction. It was really entertaining. So I was like binging through the 6, 7 seasons of this thing. And I, started looking at Nina Dobrev on Instagram and started following her. And she's really an interesting person from that distance, right? I've never met her. And I she does a lot of cool stuff. I mean, she went swimming with sharks. She jumps off airplanes. She's really active and travels a lot and does things that I wouldn't do, right? I'm more like an introvert. Put me in a studio, dim the lights, and I'll be there for days with my guitar and a microphone. But she's out there doing things. So I started following. And from that standpoint, I thought, wow, wouldn't it be interesting if I were to write a song about this lady? And from the standpoint of a fan, a follower, right? And so I came up with that. And she apparently loves tequila, from what I read in an article somewhere. So I figured, I love this fantasy thing about this guy, locked in, watching TV, following Instagram, and having this imagining the possible meeting this person, and I called it Tequila Kiss, and wrote about her and some aspects of her life. And it has that little Latin flavor. I used a classical guitar through that. And Caleb, the producer, as I mentioned earlier, did a really good job bringing it together with lots of cool sounds. And it's been fun. It's been fun to pass it around, and it's gotten good response. So
Yeah, just from the basic stats that I can see off of Spotify, it looks like it's doing really well. So that's got to be exciting.
Yes, we got some plays there as well, and Spotify is extremely difficult. Certainly, everybody who's got a list or playlist and some followers has figured out they can monetize all that, and we won't pay for that. We can't afford to buy plays, and it's not recommended anyway. But it's overall the response has been good, and both on the review sides of things, got some really good reviews for the song itself, not just the album, and also from plays on this radio stations and Spotify, as you mentioned, and surprisingly, because we did not target the Grammys in any way, shape, or form, but the album was put on the ballot for best pop vocal album, which was a surprise and a welcome one, of course. So it's fun. It's a fun record to listen to. I keep saying it, but it's I enjoy it for that in that respect. And I'm only bringing it up simply because that's what I was saying earlier, right? When I was saying, hey, I got into songwriting, see if I could pass on that kind of fun energy that you get when you listen to a cool song and you listen to a cool album. And that's what I tried to do, and I'm hoping that more people get to hear it, and obviously more people get to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really cool that you that's the reason why you got into guitar play. Why did I say guitar writing? That sounded really weird. Wow.
Well, that's part of it, playing and writing. Yeah, that is the challenge.
I was trying to say guitar playing, and then just in my Midwestern head, that didn't sound right. So guitar writing came out of my mouth.
Yeah, but it's actually a very good way to put it, because certainly in my case, right, it's guitar writing a lot. I always start from that standpoint. I pick up the guitar and I full on, right? And I hear something in the midst of, playing through, the course of the day or whatever hours I spend on it. And from that stems a song. So you really nailed it in that respect, because it's other folks have a different approach. Like I very rarely start with lyrics and write music to lyrics, because usually I find that less interesting when I come up with. I come up with stuff that I feel is sort of run of the mill. And so it's more the opposite, like, hey, oh, wow, that sounds kind of cool. What did I just play? And usually it's accidents, it's not like, oh, it's a calculated thing. And I develop that, and then I bring that together with lyrics or story that I have that inspires. So it is really guitar writing. That is a great way to put it.
See?
For my,
I got you. It's so funny because that just kind of came out in not knowing what else to call it. So that's so funny. So you brought up that Ride the Wave is getting some Grammy attention. It's nominated correctly?
No, I didn't get the nomination. Right. The first step is you get on the ballot. So you have to be selected to be on the ballot, right?
Gotcha.
So the folks, wherever they are, what Naris, I think they're called, they decide on a number of albums that fit a category, such as pop vocal album in this case. And I don't know how many they pick, to tell you the truth. I never found out how many they pick. But you have to first be on the ballot. And then the voters decide out of the list that they are presented with on that particular category's ballot, which of these get first to be nominated, and usually 5 nominees.
Yeah.
And then out of the 5, there's a winner. And in this particular category, this year, it's Justin Bieber, Doja Cat, Ariana Grande, Billie Eilish, and this young lady's name's going to escape me. But
is it Olivia Rodrigo?
Yes, that's it. So, I don't know much about the process, and really never expected to even come that close.
Yeah.
But MTS, Michael Stover, from the gentleman who got us in touch and does a lot of amazing work promoting the record. He submitted, and they decided, yeah, it's worthy of being on the ballot. So that was nice. That was nice to get that sort of thumbs up, right?
Yeah, for sure. Just getting on the ballot. Like I'd be almost curious to figure out how they decide what gets on the ballot.
So from what I understand, a group of folks decide, hey, it's worth it or not worth it, but I can't say much more than that.
Gotcha. And then, so now, Grammys, they happen soon, or have they already happened?
I think they postponed it to April 3rd or something. Gotcha. It was supposed to be January 31st.
Okay.
Because of
the Omicron thing. Yeah.
That's what the last thing I saw is that they postponed it to the beginning of April, and it's a live event in LA. So
yeah, that makes sense. So
hope that's the case.
Yeah. So Ride the Wave is out now. It's on streaming platforms. Are you releasing any hard copies of it, or selling hard copies, or is it just streaming?
No, just digital. And there was a few CDs printed for radio promotion, but only a few hundred, and nothing fancy, just simple cover.
Yeah,
the list of the songs.
Gotcha.
But, I'm not even exploring vinyl or CDs at this stage. Just sticking to digital, and we'll see in the future.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially right now, nobody's really playing any show. depending on where you're at, I'm assuming in New York, shows aren't really happening like that.
No.
So it's unless you got to
go ahead.
As I say, unless you're massively into streaming and you have a huge following there, hard copies probably aren't the way to go right now. So,
right. So if you're able to sell at shows, that's a great piece to have, an album that you can sell at a show. But what happened also, it was interesting, is prior to COVID, quite a few radio stations still preferred to get the physical CD. To have that in their library, to be able to pull it out, put a CD on for the DJs to put something on from that. But then many of them had to stop that and go to digital, more so because less interaction, less people in the office dealing with the mail and all that good stuff. So what I was told is actually quite a few stations, gotten more in line with the digital world than they were prior to the pandemic.
Yeah, I 100% understand that standpoint. It sucks, but that's just kind of where everything is. I guess it sucks and it doesn't suck because you don't have to spend all this money printing up hard copies just to give it away.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's always been part of the business, right? But yeah, it's heading in a different direction. And nowadays also they like to just go to YouTube. And not even a platform when you need to sign up. Sometimes with Spotify, if they don't have it, if they don't have an account, or if at the station or whoever has the account that's not around. So they actually prefer if you point them to YouTube, even if it's not a full-blown video, but a picture, and so that way they can check out the song. They don't have to download anything. They don't have to open a package of anything if they don't dig it. Okay, that's all right. Not interested. And then if they're interested, then they can go and download. So when you approach radio stations, you send them an email with a link to the YouTube and then a link to the download. And if they can click listen without logging in and doing anything.
Yeah.
And then if they like it and they want to download the stuff for their playlists, their radio list, then they can do it.
Yep, absolutely. So Ride the Wave out now. What's kind of the plan moving forward? I know you said you still got several months of promoting this album, but are you working on, are you writing right now, or where are you kind of at creatively?
I try to always write a little bit as often as possible as time permits, because what I find is if I just do writing by chunks when it's time to write, I tend to circle around the same ideas. Sort of the first choice, right? You pick up your guitar and you go like, oh, I'm comfortable playing that, so maybe I'll write another song like it. If I think it's better for me, and certainly I hope for the listeners too, if I challenge myself, and in order to do that, I write a lot, and I write as often as possible, and push myself to explore avenues and do things differently, and learn new things, so that I can ultimately choose something more interesting. There's a lot of diversity on the album. Some people have more cohesive, like one style of music, if you will, and it's perfectly acceptable either way. If you're putting out a dance record because you want your fans to enjoy great dance music and to be dancing, right? They put on the album, they want to dance, and it's great. You don't want to surprise them with some music that is completely spatial, chill out in the middle of a dance record, because that's not the vibe they're in for. I like a more diverse album myself when it comes to songwriting, and Ride the Wave has got quite a few different types of songs, and it's interesting in that respect. I'm more like a fan of albums in the 70s. When Queen was releasing albums and there's all kinds of stuff in there. It wasn't just rock, right? And same with Billy Joel or other artists, where there's more diversity from a songwriting standpoint. So I tend towards that, and that requires from on my side to really put a lot of work in exploring things and coming up with different ideas, so that it's more diverse and experience when you listen to it.
Awesome. And so we talked about shows. Those aren't really happening for you right now, or?
Unfortunately, not right now. It's going to be a while longer before that.
When there isn't a pandemic, how often are you usually playing shows?
It's a great question, because prior to that album, I had an EP out that I was promoting. And so it was more like, every month I was trying to put something together. But it also depends on the opportunities that come up. And shows are expensive, because you have to really pay the band, travel. So it's not always easy to match the opportunities with the budget. I can, obviously do shows by myself, but a full band is a bit expensive to put together and maintain and support. So, but hopefully things will, return to somewhat normal.
I mean, I feel like I've been saying that for the last year and a half.
Right. We all wish for it. That's for sure.
And honestly, almost 2 years. I mean, think about it. Next month will be 2 years. So, we'll see how it goes. No, that's awesome. And then just kind of outside of music, when you need to step away and just kind of decompress from everything, what are some of your hobbies? What do you do to just kind of get away?
Great question. Yeah, I'm a fan of easy crossword puzzles. As long as they're easy, though, because I don't want to get frustrated with like complicated definitions that I can't make sense out of.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I love to watch TV, and I tend to go for murder mysteries, or give me Dexter, or or obviously the Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
But that's sort of where I go to for a break from music. But the pure break from music is definitely with crossword puzzles. There's no music there. With TV, there's always some great music somewhere in the background passing through. So. Yeah,
I 100% understand. Have you watched any good shows or series recently that kind of stuck with you?
Yeah, I did watch the last Dexter season that was on fairly recently. New Blood, as they called it. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed some actually British drama, like detective shows. And I'm watching this George Gently, which is set in the late 60s.
Okay.
That's really cool flavor of that era, and lots of music from that era, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
68, 69 music was definitely original, and lots of fun there.
Yeah.
And that's what's been going on.
For sure. I've been I need to watch the 4th season of Ozark, but I need to go back and rewatch the 3rd season.
Yeah, so at the end of the 3rd, I thought they were terminated, but apparently they have a 4th one, huh?
Yeah, the 4th one. Great. The 4th one came out within the last couple of weeks, and I watched the series. Started watching with my dad about a year ago. We were on a family vacation, and he was like, "Hey, have you ever watched Ozark?" And I'm like, "No." And we're in the middle of a vacation, and he turns on the first episode, and it's like, "All right." And so then from then on, I just kind of ran through all 3 seasons. But since it's been so long, I need to go. And I didn't towards the last half of the 3rd season, I was watching it while I was working and stuff. So I didn't quite pay attention. So I need to go back and watch it to make sure I understand everything.
Right. It's a good one. I really enjoyed it. And I was kind of disappointed when there's it's not going to be a 4th one, but that's great. That's great news. I'm with you. I'm going to go back and brush up.
Yeah. And then the John Wayne Gacy documentary series. I'm really into that kind of documentary series where they're like the serial killers and all that stuff. That's all really interesting to me. So.
Yeah, I just watched Mindhunter recently.
Yeah,
it's a Netflix one, and that was wild. And there were only 2 seasons available, but that's kind of in the vein. It's not documentary exactly, but it's looks at the history of the FBI changing approach to chasing after these.
Yep, I watched a little bit of it, but I wasn't in the right mind frame to watch it, so I kind of stopped. And I was just like, maybe one day I'll go back and watch it. But
yeah, it's heavy and it's dark, but I enjoyed it. I did finish that. That was great.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't want to keep you too much longer here. Ride the Wave is out. And then, so I just for my own sake, going off of your Spotify, it looks like you released a single, the Soul to Soul.
Yes. So, there are some interesting things with Spotify that I'm exploring with songs that I've got, and they're not being. I'm testing things. That's what I'm doing. Because there's something really you have to be extremely careful with Spotify, in my experience, because if you get caught in some fake traffic by not even trying to, if you get on some playlist and they get, they boost their traffic with robots, you can get kicked out. So, I'm very careful with Spotify. Obviously, it's part of all of the distribution stores and streaming platforms that you get when you put your album out. And but I'm careful with it, So I occasionally I will release a song and sort of see how it plays out with certain lists and not put an entire album at risk.
Mm-hmm.
The Soul to Soul is new. I put that out just and see how it plays out. But right now I'm not going to push that out there to the stations and whatever. The Ride the Wave album is great. There's lots and lots of great music. But, I also like to see how I can better understand how the platform works. How I can, hopefully get more people interested in the music. And when you release a single, it gives you that flexibility to, not put the entire album at risk by, running in some, crazy fake situation that's out there, because it's quite unfortunate, but it happens. You don't really know when you get on the playlist, the followers and where they come from. And Spotify doesn't tell you. Mm-hmm. Spotify certainly doesn't tell you anything. I've been sending emails and asking, questions and nothing. Yeah. So, I usually try to be cautious with the releases. Ride the Wave is totally promoted by MTS Management and Michael Stover, and does an amazing job. And it gets, passed on to reviewers and folks like you have great shows and podcasts. And but as far as some of the releases, you'll see some songs that are almost just little singles that I've put out there and just see what happens and test some ways to promote it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just trying to make some sense of that, because when you said that you like even going back and rereading like the email and your website, seeing what you were promoting there, I'm like, well, you got newer music that's up on Spotify. And so now that you're kind of explaining it, it all makes a lot more sense now. So,
it's a really challenging business, right? It's always been, as far as I know. Historically, from what I've read, experienced, or what I'm experiencing now, it's extremely, extremely difficult. Mm-hmm. And, you can try many, many ways and many things to the extent that you have the time. And certainly if you have a little bit of money, which is, always helpful. But at the same time, because of the technology, because of these new ways to promote things that are sort of a big black box in many respects. The days when, hey, you sent your album at the time to the reviewer at Rolling Stone magazine, and it was printed and it was out a couple of months later in the November issue, there were plenty of unknowns around that. Don't take me wrong, but it's sort of like, okay, that's printed and it's out, and there you go. Especially with streaming platforms and playlists, and I get bombarded. I mean, literally bombarded with hundreds of emails from folks who are like, hey, for $999, I can get you 1 million streams and blah 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, great. Maybe later, because I don't know if the 1 million streams from a server in the mountains of Himalayas or someplace, that's not going to do me any good. No. And eventually, I don't make music for servers. Yeah. I make music for people who enjoy listening to music. That's why I have favorite radio stations
Yeah.
and podcasts and real people you can have a conversation with, and writers, reviewers,
Yeah.
rather than streaming. Because, hey, great. I'm glad that people are enjoying music through streaming, and they can have millions of songs they can listen to, whether it's on Spotify or iTunes or Amazon. And they all promote the services like, yeah, hey, we have millions of songs. Great, but there's that element of unknown, and of course, live is the best way, right? The audience is there, however many folks are coming that night or that day to hear you play. And if they're enjoying it, they clap, and if they're not, they walk away. You can't be more real than that. And from my standpoint, wanting to pass on great music to the extent that I can, I prefer that. And I prefer that, response that, people's response than numbers on streams. But, it's there and you have to work with it. So.
Yeah, for sure. It's fortunate and unfortunate at the same time that just about streams and, and just how easy it is to be manipulated.
Yeah, and some folks talk about how the industry at large, and I can't, I don't know the industry at large so much, but, hey, how many streams do you have? How many followers do you have? How, did you have 1 million views or 2 millions or 10 millions on, it's gentlemen told me, oh yeah, well, if you don't have 10 million views on YouTube, nobody's going to pay attention to you. Great, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I respect that.
It comes down to that old quantity over quality debate.
Yeah, and who are these views and streams, and under what circumstances? Again, I'd rather be in front of 2 or 3 people in a club or someplace, or and know that, hey, they're here, they're clapping, or they're walking away. At least we're having a relationship of sort, an interaction of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is the power of music. And however people want to enjoy music, that's their prerogative. And if they are listening, and that's great. If robots are listening,
I mean, I've got there's a buddy of mine that we've done a little bit of work with a few years back. He lives out in West Texas, and he's an older guy that does like the solo acoustic singer-songwriter stuff, which is cool. And he doesn't have a huge following, but he has like 300 to 400 like super dedicated fans that just really support him in everything he does. And he's like, I mean, I'm not making great money, but I make enough to live and afford a house in West Texas. So it's like, more power to you. You don't have to have a job to support your music addiction. Right. So sweet.
That's wonderful. I mean, because look, real people, besides the clapping and the thumbs up, will also, say, hey, I'm happy. Here's, $20. I want to see you again. Let me know. And maybe they'll buy a T-shirt or something. Yeah. Or a CD, as we were talking earlier. Then, you can press some CDs, and because they've experienced something valuable, right? It was like, hey, this is cool. I want to hear that again. And that's what we all wish for. But the Spotify world, however fantastic it can be for many artists, and I'm glad it's great. You have to remember that when you do get paid, you get paid 0.004 cents per stream, and that is if Spotify deems them to be legitimate. They say, well, no, your stream somehow came from machines, or we think so. So there goes your 0.004 cents. And that's okay. Look, it's the world, right? We're saying, hey, we're grateful we have Zoom, right?
Yeah.
Well, we are not necessarily always grateful about streaming services, but hey, you're there, and that's the world we live in. And that's the way it is. And until the live shows are back to somewhat normal, we have to deal with it. That's it.
Yep. 100% agreed. So if anybody wants to check out Ride the Wave or any of your other music that you have out there, or any future upcoming shows, obviously right now that's still kind of in the air. If they want to check out anything you got going on, where's the best place for everyone to do that?
Oh, great. Thank you for asking. The best place is the website. Everything. It's the hub. So it's jlsongs.com. That's JAYELLE songs.com. And everything is there. Everything that any announcement, any link to wherever you prefer to follow or so that's the way to go. And thank you for asking. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. It seems kind of strange that somebody wouldn't ask at the end of the conversation. It's like, what's your socials? Go out, let everybody know. So that's cool. As far as social platforms, which platform are you kind of enjoying pushing or interacting on? Are you more Instagram, Facebook, or?
I try to do a little bit of everything, which is not necessarily what the professionals recommend.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I also have TikTok. I also put stuff up on Pinterest, which is interesting because it's interesting more so with images. And I also have a little bit of Tumblr going. So I'm out there on those. And I'm not, heavily posting. I'm just, letting folks know about the music when it comes out.
I didn't realize Tumblr was still a thing. I thought they shut that down a while back.
Yeah, it could be. And then I'm posting it that nobody goes there. But I wouldn't be surprised, things in that world can pass me by.
Yeah.
I still have an account and I still have it up, and every now and then I post something.
Gotcha. Well, once again, it's been an absolute blast chatting with you. Really appreciate you taking the time. And I look forward to having you back on down the road and continuing the conversation.
That'd be great. And thank you for your work. As I mentioned, I certainly, favor interacting with you and folks in your world. And I'm totally grateful for you taking the time to do that, because again, human interaction, the ability to ask great questions and making your guest feel comfortable talking about everything. I really appreciate that. It's really valuable for the music and for the listeners. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, thank you for joining us. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you all tomorrow night.
All right.
Awesome.